Inside the NFC East, the landscape has been quietly but decisively changing. And this shift forces everyone to recalibrate their expectations, especially when you look at it through the lens of Dallas, even when the Cowboys are not the team making headlines with a major move, the consequences still land right at their doorstep. The Giants bringing in John Harbaugh as head coach is one of those moments that alters the tone of the division instantly. This is not a project hire or a bet on potential. This is a proven leader with championship experience, someone who establishes structure and credibility from day one. And that alone raises the competitive temperature for everyone else. From a Cowboys perspective, this matters because divisional games are rarely decided by raw talent alone anymore. Coaching, preparation, and in-game management play a massive role. And Harbaugh's presence ensures New York will be sharper in all three areas. Dallas can no longer assume those matchups will be sloppy or inconsistent on the other sideline. The Giants are signaling that they want to win now, not later. And that kind of urgency has a way of spreading across the division. Philadelphia and Washington feel it too. But Dallas feels it twice a year, every year. This hire also sends a message about stability and identity. The Giants are no longer searching for who they want to be. Harbaugh teams are typically physical, disciplined, and resilient, and that identity tends to show up even when rosters are imperfect. For Dallas, that means tighter games, fewer mistakes forgiven, and less margin for defensive lapses in a division where playoff spots often come down to a single game. These details start to matter more than ever. The ripple effect does not stop with head coaching alone. Once a figure like Harbaugh enters the picture, the assistant coaching market shifts almost immediately. Defensive coordinators, position coaches, and rising assistants suddenly see new opportunities and new leverage. That reality intersects directly with Dallas, which is navigating its own defensive coordinator search at the same time. Early interviews and early interest do not guarantee exclusivity. The moment another organization enters the race, the dynamic changes. What complicates things further is how fluid eligibility can be for certain candidates. Interim titles, role definitions, and contractual language can open doors that usually stay closed this early in the offseason. Some assistants cannot be blocked from interviews, even if their current teams would prefer to keep them. That creates a fast-moving and unpredictable market where strong impressions travel quickly. For Dallas, that means balancing aggression with discipline, making sure interest does not turn into desperation. Patience becomes a necessity, even if it frustrates fans watching from the outside. This is not a quiet coordinator cycle. Across the league, there are numerous defensive openings, and more could emerge as head coaching decisions continue to settle. The overlap is unavoidable. The same handful of respected defensive minds will appear on multiple short lists, and timelines will rarely align neatly. That is the cost of doing a serious, comprehensive search rather than a rushed or symbolic one. What stands out so far is that Dallas appears willing to explore beyond its usual comfort zone. Instead of narrowing in immediately on one familiar name, the team has engaged with coaches from varied backgrounds and philosophies. Some bring extensive professional experience, others have built reputations at the collegiate level, and some are position coaches ready for a larger role. That variety suggests a deeper conversation is happening internally about what this defense needs to become. Not just who is available, there is also the unavoidable influence of the current coaching staff. Every head coach has preferences, communication styles, and trust circles. That is normal across the league. The challenge is ensuring that comfort does not override growth. The early signs suggest Dallas is at least open to listening to ideas that challenge previous approaches, which marks a notable shift compared to past coordinator searches that felt predetermined from the start. One particularly intriguing profile gaining attention is the defensive coach. With a strong background in line play and run game coordination, that matters because Dallas has invested heavily in its front. Yet consistency has been uneven. A coordinator who emphasizes leverage, gap control, and situational awareness could elevate the entire unit without drastic personnel changes. Strong defenses often start up front, and when the line dictates terms, everything else becomes simpler behind it. Another factor shaping this process is availability. Not every interview request is being approved, especially from teams that see future plans for their assistants. Some organizations are holding tight, either anticipating internal promotions or wanting to maintain continuity. That creates a timing game for Dallas. A candidate unavailable today may become an option tomorrow, and navigating that requires flexibility rather than forcing a premature decision. Hovering over the entire conversation is one name that carries undeniable weight: Brian Flores. Remains one of the most respected defensive minds in professional football. His track record speaks loudly, and his defenses are known for preparation, adaptability, and relentless pressure. If he becomes fully available, nearly every team searching for a defensive coordinator will want that conversation. That reality alone explains why his situation feels different from the rest. The absence of immediate movement with a top-tier candidate does not automatically signal disinterest. Strategic timing plays a huge role, especially when a coach is also being considered for head coaching opportunities. Schedules shift, priorities overlap, and formal interviews do not always happen in the same order as public expectations. Sometimes, patience is not hesitation, but positioning within a competitive market. Dallas appears to be operating in phases. The initial stage has focused on gathering information, understanding philosophies, and identifying broad fits. That phase naturally involves virtual meetings and exploratory conversations. The next phase, which has not fully unfolded publicly, is where the field narrows and discussions deepen. That is typically when leverage changes and decisions start to take shape. This approach feels unfamiliar because Dallas has not always handled coordinator searches this way in previous cycles. The process was shorter and more predictable, often centered on a preferred option from the beginning. This time, the wider and slower approach suggests a recognition that the old model had limitations. It does not guarantee success, but it does signal self-awareness as the league continues to settle its head coaching landscape. The coordinator market is poised to accelerate rapidly. More openings will appear, competition will intensify, and top candidates will have real choices. Dallas cannot afford to panic, but it also cannot afford to drift. The balance between patience and decisiveness will ultimately define how this search unfolds, especially with a division that is becoming more disciplined, more stable, and far less forgiving as the search continues. The tension around it keeps building, not because Dallas is inactive, but because so many moving parts are shifting at the same time. From the outside, the process can feel slow or even uncertain, but inside league circles this is usually the most delicate phase. Every interview, every background check, and every informal conversation subtly reshapes the board. Coaches accept new roles, priorities change behind closed doors, and what felt unlikely one week can suddenly become realistic the next. One element that cannot be overlooked is how competitive this particular offseason has become for defensive leadership. The league continues to tilt toward offense, which only increases the value of coordinators who can disrupt timing, disguise intentions, and adapt quickly when quarterbacks start solving looks. Teams are no longer just hiring play callers, they are searching for teachers, tone setters, and problem solvers who can adjust week to week without losing their identity. That demand is why so many franchises are willing to wait, circle back, and even slow the process down rather than settle too early. For Dallas, the stakes feel heavier because of how recent seasons have ended. The defense has flashed dominance, creating turnovers and controlling stretches of games. But it has also shown vulnerability when opponents shift tempo or attack specific weaknesses. The next coordinator is not simply stepping into a vacancy. He is being asked to take a talented group and make it more dependable when pressure peaks. That responsibility changes how the search is framed internally. Brian Flores remains central to that conversation. Even without public movement, his reputation around the league is built on preparation, structure, and controlled aggression. His defenses rarely look confused, and they tend to improve as the season progresses. That type of consistency is appealing to any team with postseason expectations. At the same time, Flores represents a bold decision. His presence would reshape the defensive culture quickly, and not every organization is fully comfortable with that level of immediate change. There is also the very real possibility that Flores never truly becomes available. Head coaching opportunities can appear unexpectedly, and if one materializes, the conversation ends before it really begins. Even if that does not happen, multiple teams would compete aggressively for his services. That kind of market forces front offices to be pragmatic, not just hopeful, and to ensure they have strong alternatives they believe in just as much. That broader pool of candidates is why Dallas has taken the approach it has. Interest has extended to coaches with specific positional expertise, particularly those rooted in defensive line development. That focus makes sense. Controlling the line of scrimmage remains one of the most reliable ways to dictate games. especially late in the season. A coordinator who builds everything from that foundation can simplify responsibilities for linebackers and defensive backs, allowing athleticism to show without exposing structural weaknesses. Another factor that often goes underappreciated is communication. Modern defenses are complex, layered with checks, rotations, and situational adjustments. The best coordinators are not just tacticians, but translators. They can take complex ideas and make them actionable on the field, especially for younger players. Dallas has invested heavily in defensive talent through the draft, and maximizing that investment depends on teaching as much as scheme design. The interview format itself plays a significant role. Virtual meetings help establish philosophical alignment, but in-person conversations are where trust is built. Those settings allow teams to explore how a coach handles adversity, manages staff dynamics, and responds when a game plan falls apart. These discussions usually come later. Once teams are confident they are speaking with the right candidates, Dallas appears to be moving toward that stage, even if it has not been visible publicly yet. Meanwhile, the rest of the league is operating on uneven timelines. Some franchises have already filled coordinator roles, while others are still waiting for head coaching dominoes to fall. That imbalance can feel chaotic, but it also creates opportunity. Candidates overlooked early can rise quickly when circumstances change. Flexibility often becomes an advantage in these cycles, especially for teams willing to reassess rather than lock into early assumptions. Internal alignment also looms large. A defensive coordinator does not operate in isolation. He works alongside the head coach, the offensive staff, and the front office. Philosophical clashes can derail even the most talented staffs. That is why so much of the interview process centers on collaboration and vision. Dallas must ensure that whoever takes this role fits into the broader plan for complementary football, not just defensive success in a vacuum. That broader vision includes situational execution, an area that has defined outcomes for Dallas in recent years. Third downs, red zone possessions, and late game adjustments separate good defenses from elite ones. The next coordinator must show a clear, adaptable plan for those moments. That level of detail rarely shows up on a resume, which is why deeper evaluation is essential. As the offseason progresses and coordinator hiring accelerates, pressure will naturally increase. Fans will want clarity, speculation will intensify, and every quiet day will invite questions. Internally, though, the emphasis remains on getting the decision right rather than rushing to satisfy optics. Dallas understands that this hire will influence not just one season, but the identity of the defense moving forward. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Josh Allen has sent shockwaves through the NFL landscape with comments that have left fans and analysts buzzing. The Buffalo Bills quarterback, usually measured and diplomatic in public appearances, did not hold back when asked about the Dallas Cowboys, sparking speculation about possible tension between him and one of the league's most scrutinized franchises. Sources close to the team suggest that Allen's remarks were unplanned, catching even some of his own teammates off guard. While he didn't go into specifics, his tone carried a mix of frustration and pointed critique, hinting at deeper questions about strategy, leadership, and the competitive edge that drives his approach on the field. Insiders say Allen's reaction stems from recent encounters with the Cowboys' defensive schemes, which he reportedly finds challenging and perhaps emblematic of broader concerns in the league. Analysts have been quick to speculate, is this just a moment of candid frustration? Or could it signal a developing rivalry off the field as well? Some believe Allen may be using the platform to motivate his squad, sending a clear message that he expects excellence in preparation and execution, regardless of the opponent. Others argue that it could be a subtle psychological tactic aimed at unsettling Dallas, injecting uncertainty into their own locker room dynamics. The timing of Allen's comments couldn't be more intriguing, coinciding with the period when narratives around the Cowboys' recent form have been intensely debated in sports media. Fans have taken to social media, dissecting every word, tone, and gesture from interviews, with theories ranging from playful trash talk to a potential brewing feud. Even within the Bills organization, whispers suggest that Allen's statements may spark internal discussions about leadership, accountability, and how the team positions itself against perceived league threats. While speculation runs rampant, one thing is certain: Josh Allen has once again shown that he is not afraid to speak his mind, even if it means stirring controversy. Whether this develops into a full-blown rivalry or remains a momentary flash of honesty, the NFL world is watching closely. Rumors are already swirling that the Cowboys coaching staff might adjust tactics in response, though no official statements have been made for now. Fans are left to wonder, is Allen merely venting, or is this the beginning of a new chapter in one of the league's most compelling quarterback versus team narratives? Only time will tell, but the buzz is undeniable, and the conversation shows no signs of slowing down. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.